Behind the scenes, the WNBA is facing a challenge that goes far beyond rivalries, all-star selections, or the ongoing conversations about rookies and veterans. At the center of it is Caitlin Clark, one of the league's brightest young stars, whose recurring injuries have sparked serious questions about long-term player health and injury management. If these setbacks are not handled carefully, they could affect not only her current season, but also the trajectory of her career. One name frequently brought into this discussion is Tim Grover, the renowned performance trainer best known for working with Michael Jordan. According to the claims surrounding the story, Grover sees similarities between Clark's recurring injuries and the kinds of movement issues that many elite athletes experience early in their careers. His focus is not simply on strength, but on how the body adapts to increased strength. Building muscle alone is not enough if the joints, connective tissues, movement patterns, and nervous system are not progressing together. In his view, strength without proper movement mechanics can actually increase injury risk rather than reduce it. Clark entered the WNBA after one of the most celebrated college careers in basketball history. She arrived with sold-out arenas, record-breaking performances, and enormous expectations. During the off-season, she reportedly added significant muscle mass to prepare for the physical demands of professional basketball. Many observers praised her improved physique, seeing it as another sign that she was ready for the next level. However, some performance experts argue that rapid physical development also requires careful adjustments in biomechanics so the body can efficiently handle the new workload. Throughout the season, Clark has dealt with multiple lower body injuries, including groin strains, quad soreness, and recurring soft tissue issues. Some specialists describe this as a compensatory injury pattern, where one injury changes movement mechanics, placing additional stress on another part of the body until another injury occurs. Unless the underlying movement patterns are corrected, this cycle can continue repeating itself. According to the viewpoints attributed to Grover, modern athlete development should place as much emphasis on deceleration and movement control as it does on speed and explosiveness. Basketball is filled with sudden stops, sharp cuts, pivots, and rapid changes of direction. Clark's style of play depends heavily on those movements. If the hips, groin, quadriceps, and surrounding muscles are not fully prepared for those repeated forces, the risk of soft tissue injuries naturally increases. The discussion also extends beyond biomechanics to overall injury management. Reports have suggested that Clark has explored outside medical opinions alongside her team's care. Whether common or not among elite athletes, independent evaluations can provide additional perspectives on recovery and long-term performance. Many modern professionals routinely consult outside specialists to ensure they receive the most comprehensive treatment possible. More broadly, this conversation has fueled debate about how professional teams manage player health. Many experts argue that treatment should not only focus on rehabilitation after injuries occur, but also on identifying movement deficiencies before they become injuries. Detailed motion analysis, individualized training plans, recovery monitoring, and preventive care have become increasingly important throughout professional sports. Ultimately, the discussion surrounding Caitlin Clark is about much more than one player. It reflects broader questions about athlete development, injury prevention, medical transparency, and how professional leagues protect their biggest stars. As women's basketball continues to grow, many believe that investing in advanced performance science, personalized rehabilitation, and long-term player health will become just as important as success on the court. According to the perspective presented in this discussion, Tim Grover believes Michael Jordan's early career changed because he worked with specialists who focused on rebuilding movement mechanics rather than simply treating injuries. The argument is that Jordan benefited from a training philosophy centered on correcting imbalances, improving movement efficiency, and creating long-term durability instead of only returning him to the court as quickly as possible. The comparison suggests that Caitlin Clark now faces a growing list of lower body injuries, while time continues to work against her if those underlying issues are not fully addressed. Beyond the physical concerns, attention has also shifted toward the environment surrounding Clark. Reports and speculation about locker room tension, outside criticism, and constant public scrutiny have fueled conversations about the pressures she faces. Recovery is not only physical. Confidence, emotional stability, and a supportive environment also play important roles in helping elite athletes return to their best form. Clark has carried extraordinary expectations since entering the WNBA, and many observers believe few rookies in league history have dealt with a spotlight of similar intensity. Supporters of this viewpoint argue that if nothing changes, the cycle of recurring injuries could continue. They suggest that repeated groin strains, quad issues, and other soft tissue injuries may eventually lead to more serious long-term problems if the root causes are never corrected. From this perspective, the issue is not that Clark lacks talent or toughness, but that her training, recovery, and biomechanics require a more individualized approach designed for long-term success rather than short-term availability. The broader criticism extends beyond one player. It questions whether professional basketball organizations should invest more heavily in advanced sports science, movement analysis, injury prevention, and personalized rehabilitation. Rather than reacting after injuries occur, many performance experts advocate identifying potential problems before they become serious setbacks. That philosophy emphasizes prevention, movement quality, and long-term athlete development over simply increasing strength or returning players to competition as quickly as possible. Clark's popularity has unquestionably transformed the WNBA's visibility. She has helped attract larger audiences, increased television interest, boosted ticket demand, and introduced new fans to women's basketball. Because of that influence, many believe protecting the health of marquee players should remain a priority. The discussion argues that elite athletes should not be viewed only as marketing assets, but as long-term investments whose careers depend on careful management and proper medical support. Supporters of this approach propose several priorities: bringing in specialized performance experts when necessary, continually evaluating training methods, creating individualized development plans, refining movement mechanics, carefully managing return-to-play timelines, and building systems that prioritize long-term durability over short-term results. Whether or not every recommendation is adopted, the underlying message is that sustainable success depends on balancing performance with player health. More broadly, Clark's situation has become part of a larger conversation about the future of professional women's basketball. As the league continues growing, many believe it has an opportunity to strengthen medical resources, expand performance science programs, and establish consistent standards that support athlete longevity. How organizations respond to challenges like recurring injuries may influence not only individual careers, but also the league's long-term reputation for player care. The comparison to Tim Grover's training philosophy reflects this larger idea. His reputation was built on developing complete athletes by focusing on movement efficiency, neuromuscular coordination, balance, and injury prevention rather than simply increasing physical strength. Advocates of that approach believe sustained excellence comes from solving the underlying causes of injury instead of repeatedly managing the symptoms. As Clark has returned to competition throughout the season, fans have closely watched her playing time, movement, and overall health. Every appearance generates discussion about recovery, workload, and long-term development. Regardless of differing opinions, one point remains widely shared. Caitlin Clark's health is now one of the most closely followed stories in professional basketball, and how it is managed could shape both her future and ongoing conversations about athlete care throughout the WNBA. On some nights, Clark looks like the player fans have come to expect, confidently controlling the pace and making plays all over the court. On other nights, however, observers believe they can see subtle signs that she may still be working her way back to full strength. Some point to cautious drives, occasional stiffness, or less explosive lateral movement as indications that recovery from recurring injuries can take time. At the same time, the demands surrounding one of the league's biggest stars remain enormous. National broadcasts, sold-out arenas, sponsorship commitments, and constant media attention create pressure that few athletes have ever experienced. Many performance experts argue that long-term health must always come before short-term expectations because sustainable success depends on complete recovery rather than simply returning to competition as quickly as possible. Supporters of this viewpoint believe the discussion extends well beyond a single injury. They argue that recurring soft tissue problems often point toward broader movement patterns rather than isolated incidents. During the off-season, Clark noticeably increased her strength and physical development in preparation for the professional game. While many praised her improved physique, some specialists note that rapid increases in muscle mass require the entire body to adapt. Muscles may become stronger, but joints, tendons, ligaments, stabilizing muscles, and movement mechanics must develop alongside them. If those systems fall out of balance, the body can experience additional stress during the repeated cutting, stopping, and accelerating required in professional basketball. The recurring groin injuries have become a major part of that conversation. Performance specialists often describe bilateral soft tissue injuries, where similar problems occur on both sides of the body, as potential signs that compensation may be occurring. When one side becomes injured, the opposite side frequently assumes a greater workload, increasing its own risk of injury if underlying movement mechanics are not addressed. Rather than focusing only on the injured area itself, many modern rehabilitation programs evaluate the entire kinetic chain, including hip mobility, landing mechanics, balance, core stability, ankle function, and movement efficiency, to identify contributing factors before additional injuries develop. This philosophy has become closely associated with high-performance training methods used throughout professional sports. Instead of simply restoring athletes to play, the objective is to rebuild efficient movement patterns that reduce future injury risk while maximizing long-term durability. Advocates believe this comprehensive approach can help elite athletes perform at a high level for many years rather than repeatedly cycling through rehabilitation. Beyond the physical challenges, Clark also faces extraordinary external pressure. Every performance receives national attention, every injury update generates headlines, and every game becomes a topic of discussion across social media. Constant public scrutiny, combined with the normal demands of professional competition, creates a unique environment that few young athletes have experienced. Many sports psychologists emphasize that successful recovery depends not only on physical healing, but also on emotional support, confidence, and organizational stability. The broader conversation, therefore, extends to athlete support systems. Modern professional sports increasingly rely on multidisciplinary teams that include physicians, physiotherapists, strength coaches, biomechanical specialists, nutrition experts, sports psychologists, and performance analysts working together to develop individualized recovery plans. Many observers believe this integrated approach represents the future of elite athlete care. Clark's popularity has undoubtedly contributed to the WNBA's growing visibility, helping attract new audiences, expand television coverage, and generate increased interest in women's basketball. Because of that influence, discussions surrounding her health naturally receive significant attention. Many believe that protecting elite players through evidence-based medical care and individualized rehabilitation ultimately benefits both the athletes themselves and the continued growth of the league. Looking ahead, supporters of this perspective argue that recovery decisions should be guided by complete medical readiness rather than external pressure or scheduling demands. They also suggest that independent specialists with expertise in biomechanics and performance science can provide valuable additional insight when managing recurring injuries. Whether through team resources or outside consultation, the central objective remains the same: restoring long-term health, correcting underlying movement issues where necessary, and giving one of basketball's brightest young stars the strongest possible foundation for a long and successful career. Trust is one of the most important parts of any athlete's recovery, and many observers believe that seeking second opinions often reflects a desire for greater confidence in the rehabilitation process. Just as important is creating an environment that encourages proper recovery rather than rewarding athletes for rushing back too soon. The greatest competitors don't simply fight through pain. They learn how to train smarter, recover completely, and protect their bodies for the long run. As Caitlin Clark's recovery continues to draw attention, the discussion has grown into something much larger than basketball itself. It raises an important question: how do you protect extraordinary talent once you've found it? Her recent injuries aren't just about sore muscles or missed games. They highlight the delicate balance between potential and preparation, performance and protection, ambition and responsibility. More importantly, the conversation extends far beyond one player. It reflects the challenges that arise when generational talent enters a system still adapting to unprecedented growth. As women's basketball continues to evolve, many believe the league faces an important choice: continue relying on traditional approaches or invest even more heavily in modern sports science and player development. Most fans don't see the complex biomechanics behind every injury. They see the highlights, The impossible three-pointers, the brilliant passes, and occasionally the painful moments when Clark grabs her leg after an awkward movement. When injury reports describe someone as day-to-day, it can create the impression that everything is under control. Yet sports performance experts often point out that every injury tells a much deeper story. Small imbalances, subtle movement changes, and repeated compensation patterns can gradually develop into much larger problems if they aren't fully addressed. Clark's style of play is built on explosive movement, sudden changes of direction, deep shooting range, and relentless pace. Those same qualities that make her special also place enormous demands on her body. Modern performance specialists frequently emphasize that speed means little without the ability to decelerate efficiently, stabilize the joints, and absorb force safely. When one area of the body compensates for another, the risk of recurring injuries can increase significantly. Many performance coaches who have worked with elite athletes throughout basketball history have stressed that recovery involves much more than eliminating pain. An athlete may no longer experience inflammation, yet movement quality, balance, coordination, and neuromuscular controls still need to return before the body is truly prepared for competition. Without correcting those underlying movement patterns, athletes can remain vulnerable to re-injury even after symptoms appear to improve. That distinction between being medically cleared and being fully game-ready has become an increasingly important topic throughout professional sports. Clark's popularity has only intensified this discussion. Every time she steps onto the floor, television ratings rise, arenas fill with fans, merchandise sales increase, and millions of viewers tune in to watch. That success creates a difficult balancing act. The demand for her presence is enormous, yet proper recovery sometimes requires extended patience. Finding that balance between short-term competition and long-term health has become one of the biggest challenges facing every professional sports organization with a franchise player. Sports medicine experts frequently warn that returning too quickly can create a cycle that's difficult to escape. Without sufficient recovery time, the body never fully resets, allowing small issues to compound into larger ones over time. Many compare it to repeatedly using damaged equipment. It may continue functioning for a while, but each use increases the likelihood of a more significant breakdown. For that reason, many believe that careful rehabilitation ultimately protects not only the athlete, but also the long-term interests of the team and the league. The conversation also reaches beyond today's stars. Young athletes watching from high school and college are paying attention to how professional organizations handle player health. They are learning what standards exist for medical care, rehabilitation, workload management, and long-term development. As talent continues to improve across women's basketball, many believe the supporting infrastructure must evolve alongside it. Coaches, athletic trainers, physical therapists, strength specialists, sports scientists, and front offices all play critical roles in helping elite athletes sustain greatness over many years rather than only a few seasons. One reason athletes like Michael Jordan enjoyed such remarkable longevity was the extensive support systems surrounding them. Throughout his career, Jordan worked closely with specialized trainers, therapists, conditioning experts, and performance professionals who continually evaluated movement mechanics, recovery strategies, and long-term physical development. His success reflected not only extraordinary talent, but also an unwavering commitment to protecting his body for the future. Many fans hope today's stars receive access to similarly advanced resources as women's basketball continues its rapid growth. Whether discussing Caitlin Clark or any other elite athlete, the larger message remains the same. Talent alone is never enough. Sustained greatness requires world-class preparation, intelligent rehabilitation, modern sports science, and organizations willing to prioritize long-term success over short-term results. As women's basketball enters a new era of popularity, many believe investing in those areas will benefit both its biggest stars and the future of the sport itself. If you enjoyed this breakdown, share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe professional sports organizations are doing enough to protect their biggest stars while keeping the competition at the highest level? Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you in the next video.